How would you feel about school taking up an extra hour every day to teach basic adult stuff like washing clothes, basic cooking, paying taxes? My rural ass school did this in the zeros: home ec, sewing, taxes, cooking, woodworking, etc. Could even get into metalworking, accounting, quilting, pottery, etc. if you wanted to. I'd be opposed to the extra hour, but not the activities. School was already an 8-hour-a-day thing. Pushing it up to 9 hours means it actually becomes longer than a full-time job. And that's before you get to homework and acid like that. They do it already. It's called life skills here. Edit. 8 hours. It's only 6 here, and we get it done. WTF you wasting 3 hours on every day. Schools have these already, and the kids in them don't care. It's not immediately relevant to their lives, so they don't pay attention. Sorta like if I were to talk to you about the do's and don'ts of denture cream. You say, hey, I'll figure it out later, when I need to know it, and stop paying attention. I've taught in several schools that have tried to teach social skills, kindness, meditation, financial literacy, etc. In every case, the kids did not care. It was their least favorite part of the day because it felt like a waste of time. The point of education is to teach thinking, not doing. A well-educated student can teach themselves these things. A quick Google search can teach you how to file taxes, cook, etc. But you can't Google how to do algebra 2 and expect to understand what you read without some background in the subject matter. Edit. I got upvotes. Now I'm mad with power, so I'll say this. I hear arguments like this post all the time, and I think the real issue is people not taking responsibility. I can't cook. That must be the school's fault. We need education reform. No, it's not the school's fault. It's your fault. You could literally Google a recipe in 20 seconds. Stop blaming other people for your problems. People don't realize that the point of education isn't to teach facts, but to change your brain. For example, physics and math majors earn the highest scores in the MCAT, GMAT, and LSAT. It's not because they learned those things in class, but because their curriculum emphasizes logical thinking. When students slack in schoolwork, they are not just missing out on the opportunity to know stuff, they are missing out on the opportunity to be smarter. My public school had classes that teach these things. I graduated high school a decade ago. I took home economics and learned how to cook. I took financial literacy to learn about taxes and budgeting and investing. Is Utah just 1 hour ahead of the other states, or is this a made up issue? I've seen people that took these classes at my school post memes about not learning how to pay taxes and it. I wonder if the real problem is that nobody remembers this stuff cause they teach it to you when it isn't relevant to your life. Your grandparents had home economics classes for the girls and shop trades classes for the boys. Every once in a while a member of the opposite sex would sign up for and take the wrong class. Too much humor. They don't teach home ec or have shop classes anymore. That's just home ec. I think that they already waste enough time, and it would be worse for kids whose parents already taught them that stuff. Washing clothes is really a 20-minute lesson, and cooking taxes have their own elective classes already. Washing clothes? So you put the clothes in, some detergent, push a button, then dryer, then a hanger? If you can't figure out washing clothes or cooking on your own, definitely shouldn't be allowed to drive. Taxes, debt and personal finance is something that should be taught. This used to be called home ec and most schools had it. Then boomers did away with it because it cost too much. Now they make fun of young people for not KOing things they would have learned in home ec. I'm opposed to it. There's no reason parents can't teach these things to their kids while doing said tasks. School isn't responsible for every single thing. Also, with the internet, if a parent doesn't know changing a tire, for example, they can easily learn. It's so funny how many of you think that kids will actually be interested in learning about taxes, stocks, etc. In what world do you think high schoolers would be attentive in a class about budgeting taxes? Have any of you met high school kids before? This is all stuff anyone would be able to get info online or ask somebody at home. Hey, mom, how do you write a check? Boil an egg? Change a tire? get your prescriptions filled. It boggles the mind that kids would be willing to sit their ass in a chair at school for hours to passively listen to this, while adulting simply means that you take the time to look it up yourself and learn on your own. Since you are adulting, you get to decide how much time you want to spend on any of these things. Learning to cook does not mean you have to become a chef. It just means you can feed yourself reasonably nutritious food that you enjoy eating. You can go all out and learn to bake a fancy quiche if you enjoy it, or just learn to fry a couple of eggs in 2 minutes. You decide and have the power over how you want to feed yourself. It's okay if you don't want to learn to do your taxes, although if you only have one job and don't have properties or business, it can be so straightforward that it's probably worth learning to do on your own in a couple of hours. There's no need to buy a sewing machine to alter your clothes, unless you think you would enjoy it as a permanent hobby, but anyone can spend a couple of dollars on a cheap sewing kit and look up how to sew a button, because it only takes a few minutes and it does come in handy. Totally fine to wait until your button falls off. There are no prescribed items you must know to be an adult. You just have to do the best you can with what you have, and that often means learning something new on your own when needed, and you get to decide how to do it. Dude, they already teach math and how to read directions. Plus you have the entire human knowledge at your fingertips. How about we don't waste precious time walling people through basic ESIT they have already been taught the foundations of, and spend more time on teaching more complex ideas, skills that can't be quickly learned by reading short directions. Sorry if this comes off sounding mean, but it is so ridiculous to ask what you did. Those are the things that a competent parent should teach their child. I think it's ridiculous that washing clothes and basic cooking would be considered adult stuff. These are all things I learned at home and was doing for myself by high school. Are people's parents really just doing all this for them?